I want to study a remarkable scene with you found in the first chapter of the book of Acts. So we'll start reading in Acts 1 and verse 9. It's speaking about Jesus. Now, when he had spoken these things, while they watched, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, who also said, Men of Galilee, why do you stand gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus who was taken up from you into heaven will so come in like manner as you saw him go into heaven. I can't even begin to imagine how difficult it must have been for the disciples to watch Jesus disappear into the clouds that afternoon, because they just spent 3.5 of the most incredible years of their lives with him. They'd seen him face down the Pharisees and quickly overturn the malicious questions of the scribes and the Sadducees. They'd seen blind people get their sight back. They'd seen lifeless legs suddenly able to carry a man, and they'd even seen the dead come back to life. And now it seems it was all over. So as Jesus disappeared from sight, they stood on top of the hill straining their necks to catch every last glimpse they could. And I don't blame them, because I'm guessing I'd probably do the same thing. I mean, who wouldn't want a few more minutes with Jesus? Now, try to imagine the first time they prayed without Jesus physically there. It used to be that Jesus would offer up an elegant but simple prayer, and they knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that God the Father heard that prayer. And now they had to do it themselves. But they had one thing going for them that we sometimes forget today in the 21st century. They actually saw Jesus physically, with flesh and bones, go up, so they knew that Jesus was physically somewhere. Suddenly, heaven wasn't the shadowy realm where mysterious things happen in the mist. They knew that Jesus, who still had a real physical human body, had gone into the presence of the Father. Heaven to them was a real place. It was tangible. And so as they prayed, they knew beyond all question that their prayers were headed for somewhere real. A real man now stood at the head of the human race, fully God, but still a man. And as they watched Jesus go up, they knew that he was going to come again in very real terms. And when Paul later told the believers that we would all be caught up together to meet Jesus in the air, I believe that many of them could see it in their mind's eye because they'd already seen Jesus go up. I know that modern critics have wasted a lot of time trying to decry the stories of the Bible as mythology, even making direct comparisons to the stories of ancient Greece and Egypt. But the events surrounding the life of Jesus were real. They happened in the streets of real villages and cities, and real people saw these things with their own eyes. And because of that, we can still pray knowing that someone real, God's Son, a real flesh and blood human being, now stands at the head of the human race. We are not dealing in misty uncertainties, but in tangible realities, and that has given millions of people a solid hope on which to build their future. And that has given us a better way to live.